Well, the scandal that first shook the campus of Penn State University is now shocking the entire nation, and it is far from over. It began with the arrest of former assistant football coach Jerry Sandusky, accused of sexually abusing several young boys in his care. Legendary head football coach Joe Paterno fired. University leaders think he and another assistant, Mike McQuarrie, should have done more to bring Sandusky to the attention of authorities. So could Paterno and McQuarrie face criminal charges themselves for failing to tell police what they allegedly knew? Let's ask our legal panel, trial attorney and adjunct professor at Fordham University, Vikki Ziegler, defense attorney, former prosecutor Joey Jackson. Joey, Paterno so far has not been criminally charged, but he has been fired from his job. Because why? There's a different standard.
There really is, Greg. First of all, this is horrific, and as proud as I am to be a lawyer, I'm prouder to be a father. And I think every parent is outraged, every person is outraged that this could conceivably happen anywhere, much less a university like this. In terms of what's going on with Mr. Paterno, I think the state attorney general has spoken to the issue of criminal charges. They've done an investigation, at least preliminarily. We know this is developing.
It's not over yet.
At this point, it's not over yet, and I'm sure Vikki will speak to that. But at this point in time, they have stated, the attorney general has, that there's not enough to charge him criminally. Now, the Board of Trustees, I think, took the appropriate action in dismissing him. Why, Greg? I mean, listen, he met the minimum standards of reporting, apparently, according to the Attorney General. That is, once he got knowledge of the information concerning the abuse, he then gave the information up the hierarchy in the chain of command.
Right.
As a result of that, his reporting obligations were met. We can argue whether that was sufficient. Criminally. Now,
that doesn't satisfy Penn State's standards.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean,
look, you've got a higher ethical and moral obligation.
You really do, Greg. I mean, the ethical and moral obligation here to do more, about what he really did know is significantly more than just saying this happened. I mean, clearly he could have gone to the authorities and done more.
Joe Paz, as he's fondly known as, Paterno's criminal exposure here isn't over yet, which is likely why he has hired a very fine criminal defense attorney.
Yeah, most people don't do that and hire a top guy like perhaps Joey Jackson unless you think there's trouble coming down the pike.
Right.
So the question really is, this is an ongoing investigation. We don't know how many other victims are going to come out, what other witnesses that the DA is going to speak to. So perjury is a real potential
for Paterno.
Right. Possibility if in fact he lied to police or to the grand jury as it relates to what he knew. What did Mr. McQuarrie actually tell him? And did he tell Mr. Curley everything, or did he soft pedal it? That's the real question as it relates to perjury.
Now, I want to play a soundbite from the governor of Pennsylvania, Tom Corbett, who, by the way, was a district attorney who prosecuted sex assault cases against children. Take a listen to what he said on Meet the Press.
He's on administrative leave by the Board of Trustees.
Right.
Should he still have a job?
Well, that's a determination that the Board of Trustees, but more importantly, the new administration with Rod Erickson as the president, will make a decision on. But they have to keep in mind that this is also somebody who is a witness to this crime and is a very important witness to this crime.
All right. Now, he's talking about Mike McQuarrie, who's the assistant football coach who initially went to Joe Paterno and said, look, I saw this thing happen, a child 10 years old being sodomized by Sandusky. All right. Why, Joey, is McQuarrie not being prosecuted here for doing more?
The argument here is that there's a whistleblower statute in Pennsylvania. They've had this statute since 1986. And what it does is, if in the event that you have knowledge and certain information concerning misdeeds of the college, misdeeds of officials there, then you arguably are protected. And so if they were to fire him for retaliatory purposes, he would receive that protection. Now, if they fired him, Greg, for simply poor judgment, that would be another matter, and he would not get the protection of the whistleblower statute.
And he was a graduate assistant at the time that this incident occurred. I don't think he had the same standard. And remember, Joe Paterno, legendary reputation, legendary responsibility. I think there's a distinction in actually the ranks and where they actually were at the time.
All right, remember, there's a state school, so the Department of Education is looking into this. The feds will get involved, and there will be a myriad of civil lawsuits for liability, and that brings up a whole other issue of immunity for the government and Penn State University. We'll talk about that another time. Joey Jackson, Vikki Ziegler, good to see you both. Thanks.
Good to see you, Greg.
All right. Heather?